you want to call out cancel culture, we'll talk. I think you put cancel culture in the encyclopedia. They show a picture of what happened of you and what happened to you. They didn't just get you fired, removed from your position. They started going after your legacy. There was, I think you had contributed to a university. Is that what happened? They took your name down?
Yes. 4
universities.
Yes.
Which ones?
U of L, UK, Ball State, and Purdue.
So you had contributed to these universities that took your names. They took your name off of these places.
Well, we believe in voluntary exchange. We believe that when you go out and you buy a product or service, it's mutually beneficial to all parties. That's what free markets do. So the curriculum that we set up in each university was free markets, voluntary exchange, entrepreneurship. And we were up to 4 universities. The left, I don't want to make this political, but the left did not like us in the universities. And the group I went in with, and this was tens of millions of dollars to do this, we had 2 goals. The first goal is to give the kids both sides of the coin. They hear about entitlement, how good, big brother, big government it is. If you're successful, that's not good. You don't have to be accountable, big bureaucracy. We flipped it and said, okay, that's fine. If you want to believe that, you believe whatever, but you might want to look at entrepreneurship, accountability, self-respect, making a contribution, earning, saving, getting ahead. And so the kids loved the entrepreneur program. They really did. And whether they went this way or that way, I don't care, as long as they could see both sides of the coin. That was goal number 1. Goal number 2 was don't further divide the country. The country's already divided. This was 5-6 years ago. Let's don't further divide the country. And I really feel like we were accomplishing that goal. And of course, our terminology, our nomenclature, the left couldn't get on it because we were not there to divide. We were there just to teach free markets. And so I think the left really had an issue with us going into these universities and teaching free markets, free enterprise, and entrepreneurship.
Wow.
And, yeah.
You were having I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I just saw the story where it's like name was removed from school, and I'm like, that's crazy. But now it sounds like you were actually having a very, very powerful impact on young people and teaching them personal responsibility.
Yeah. The second year at U of L, out of 1,263 curriculums, our program was number 4 within 2 years. So the kids love entrepreneurship. They love hearing about free markets and freedoms in general. And so when we were at 4, we wanted to go to 400 because we think small business is the backbone and the heartbeat of this country. I mean, 60-something% of the new jobs are small business. So we like micro, dirty jobs.
Yeah.
We like teaching vocations. We like teaching trades. We like teaching entrepreneurship. I even wanted the classroom on the front of the building, school, and then trades in the back. How do you build a house? How do you work on a truck? How you do the technical part of a carburetor on a Toyota or whatever it is. But we actually wanted the school room adjacent to the workshop, a micro kind of deal, to teach these kids how to have a career, how to have a job so they don't get out of college and owe, $150,000 in debt on student loans.
Do you think that there was maybe a political component to what happened to you then? I mean, you've got special interests that don't want what you were teaching kids in these universities. They certainly ripped that out the moment they could.
Well, you're asking the conspiracy question.
Well, I guess is the conspiracy beyond just being set up by, people who want to make money? Was there a political component?
I don't want to say anything. I really don't have facts. I know Ritchie and Shapiro were part of it. I know Wasserman Stein with Laundry Service was part of it. Goodell was probably part of it. How far up the food chain that goes, Wasserman's the head of the DNC in L.A. I don't really want to make that assumption. I will say this. I made a comment that says Roger Goodell needs to solve the NFL issues to the players and owner satisfaction. Less than 20 minutes, that went viral, that I was against the players kneeling. I mean, I'm like, how did they take that? That was
a lie,
benign, innocuous, and turn it into that I'm anti-kneeling. And within 1 hour, we had like 6 million. It just blew up. So I'm kind of like, was that orchestrated?
Well, have you ever heard of the phrase a standalone complex?
Yeah, emergent.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, conspiracy is a dirty word. And yeah, I got to be honest, I'm fairly anti-conspiracy in a lot of ways because you need a lot of evidence to back up these big stretches. However, when you tell a story like that you said, solve this to the players and the coaches' benefit, is that what you said, players and coaches or players?
Goodell needs to solve this debacle to the owners and players' satisfaction.
Right. To take that and clearly take it out of context to make you look bad. A standalone complex would be when a bunch of people do something that effectively acts in concert to create the appearance of a conspiracy, but they're actually just doing it independently. So if you had 10 people who all stood up at the same time and yelled that they were, fans of Papa John's, people would assume they orchestrated it. That would be a conspiracy. They came together and planned it at 10 o'clock. We're all going to stand up and shout, "We like pizza." A standalone complex would be, seemingly by chance, they all stood up at the same time, independent of each other for some reason. So when you see what happened to you, perhaps it doesn't need to be a conspiracy. It could just be that when people saw there was an opportunity to go after you, political components were like, now's our chance to get rid of these free enterprise programs in these universities. And so they did.
I think that concept definitely could be applicable to my situation. For this to happen, all the stars had to align perfectly in the wrong way for me. And that could have happened. That could have happened.
Regarding like building entrepreneurial skills for young people, what was your young entrepreneurial career like? Like, when did you get your first job, and what led you up to start making the pizzas?
The greatest lesson I ever had was when I was 8. My grandfather had kind of like a farm, miniature farm, where we had tractors and mowers and equipment. And he'd go out and buy new equipment and tractors, but every once in a while it would break, and like the motor would break on the tractor. And he would look at me and say, "Fix it." And I said, "Fix it." "Well, I'm 8 years old." "I'm 7 years old, 8 years old." And he goes, so I'd tear the motor apart, tear the carburetor apart on his workbench. And sometimes I could get it back together and sometimes I couldn't. He didn't care. He wanted me to know how things worked. He wanted to know for me to know how to turn a wrench, to understand that the engineering, the mechanics of how things really work. That was by far, how do ecosystems work? How does the environment work? How does the weather work? How do political systems work? How does our economy work? How does our banking system work? But that all came back when I was 7, 8 years old, when both he and my dad said, it's okay to make a mistake. You're not going to learn if you're not making mistakes. Now, don't make the same mistake twice. But an entrepreneur is nothing but a big shot's nothing but a little shot that kept on shooting. So just keep on shooting. Keep on trying new things and new innovations. Keep tinkering. Go ahead.
You're being taught to think critically, to think independently, to be personally responsible. You tell that story, and I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense. You plant that seed, and here you are, this very successful businessman. And then you look at the school programs. You said that there were 2 different programs, right? You wanted people to be able to see both sides. Yours was free enterprise. What was the other thing they were teaching? What was the other component?
Big government, tax the rich, success is a bad thing, entitlements. The number one employer for history majors in the United States is Starbucks.
Is that true?
So, yeah, I mean, they want to teach soft science. I wanted to always teach hard science, arithmetic, engineering. A veterinarian, for example, that would be a great career. How to build something, architecture. Those are things that are hard scientists that you can actually do something with and have a real career. At U of L, we had 200 slots in our dentistry program, and we had demand for 3,000 dentists. I'm like, we need more dentists. I mean, we don't need more lawyers. We don't need more social science folks. We need more engineers. We need more architects. We need more dentists.
I'm curious as to how this is happening, how you could have the program that espouses independence, individuality, entrepreneurship. That's the one that gets removed. I mean, that should be the resilient side of things, right?
You do have a way with turning things on their head. Let me chew on what you just said, because you just did in real time what you did back in 2018. You're right. They threw me out on something I didn't say, and the very thing that we're trying to produce was exactly what I didn't say. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, what I mean is, if you teach people to be responsible, independent, smart, cunning, and to be good people, to try and help others, how is it that these are the ideals that seem to be faltering? Particularly in this story, but in my experience, I think a lot of people are seeing it. You tend to have the big government, entitlements side becoming more and more prominent, gaining control of the institutions. Maybe there's something that the being a good person misses. I'm not saying don't be a good person, but maybe when you're a good person, you overlook the fact that some people might be lying to you.
Well, again, back to with your audience here on, you gotta own your own BS. You gotta own your own nonsense. And so, the question for the House is, I protected my board of directors with my life. I protected my employees with my life. I protected my franchisees. I mean, I made sure that nothing was going to happen to them. And okay, we now established they want the 160 million. They want the marketing business. They want to, so they want to get rid of John. Live with that. Okay. Can we have a cup of coffee and say, John, you go or we'll go? No conversation, no nothing. Not only did they want to get rid of me, they wanted the crucifixion. They wanted to paint me in a racist. Now, that's evil. I mean, that is about as bad as you can do to a founder of a pizza company that did it by the book, that played the long game and took everybody up with him. And the question before the House is, how come I didn't see that? I had no inclination that this board of directors and this executive team would do something like this. Not even a witch that they were even capable of doing this. And they did it. They continue to do it. And so what I've tried to get out of this is, okay, how can I use that for higher level of consciousness, awareness? Why didn't I see it? But then you got to flip that on its head and go, I don't want to go around life going, I got to worry about people screwing me every second of the day. So as you can see, we haven't quite reached the forgive the unforgivable. We're definitely off. I'm going to kill these people. We're off that one, which is where we're at back here, literally. But it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to overcome. But we to move on with the life, we have to get to that forgiveness stage. We have to.
Yeah, it kind of feels like people who are trying to be nice and do good are unsuspecting of what's going to come after them. And the story you tell me about, I know people who worked for Papa John's. They said it was fantastic. I remember I was reading some quotes where you were saying that people got to get paid more. The minimum wage was too low. I've heard you basically talked about things that are fairly populist, right? Help for the little guy and for the working class. And sure enough, maybe, I don't know how to describe it, but you maybe too nice,
Well, you understand, Papa John's, and we did build a great company, but we also had great people. We had a great team. We really were more in the people business than the pizza business. It was a fantastic group of individuals. And that's how we got the thing over 5,000 stores. But I think you can't, you just got to stay positive with this. And I think that if you take care of people and you do the right thing, then sooner or later, karma's the real deal. I mean, karma, what goes around comes around.
You're definitely right about forgiveness. I think we're about to enter the age of more transparency, especially in government. And when we start changing our government, we're going to start finding all these crimes and criminals within the politicians. And it's going to be really, people are really going to want to punish them. But I think we have to forgive these people. Hillary Clinton's email scandals, for instance. We got to forgive these people and make sure that if we move forward as society, it's all together. Otherwise, those rich people in the shadows are going to try and avoid getting caught, and they're going to try and do damage to the people attempting to move the system forward. So I'm full with you about this forgiveness era.
I mean, some people are really, really bad.
Yeah, but
really
it's
evil
not
people.
up to us to decide. In my opinion, I don't think we can do it if we don't do it together, all of us. As weird as it sounds.
Ian,
horrible
if
crimes.
If there's no justice for horrible crimes, then people lose faith in the system because
I've already lost faith, man, because the justice is...
And you don't bring it back by saying bad people can get away with bad things,
well,
but good people get
punished. You know the Ben Franklin quote, 100 guilty people better to escape than one innocent suffer. I think that maybe that's 10,000 guilties should escape rather than one innocent suffer.
That is a hard question, man, because I understand what you're saying. If we stay with the rage and the anger, then we fall apart. But if we allow people to get away with evil, then you live in an evil society.
Not in the future, but for past crimes. It's just an idea.
Yeah, I think you'll end up in an evil society. I think when
We're
people
already there, man.
and I don't know if there's a real simple solution to everything we're seeing. I mean, thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.